Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Renee Quevedo here, stepping in for our host with the most, Tyler, and we're recording from NFM headquarters with our best banter buddy, Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Renee.
Hi, Becca. And Hilary Woltzmath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hey, Hilary. And today we're going to be talking about orchestrating your best dog-friendly fall with none other than Flooring Services Manager and guest podcast expert on all things dogs, Mandy Schmitz.
Hi.
Hi,
Thanks
Mandy.
for having me back again.
Yeah. And as a reminder, our guest hosts are NFMers with home life passions that we bring on the pod to answer questions and share with all of you. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. Okay, Mandy, we are well into fall. The summer heat is behind us and we're looking forward to the holidays. But before we can carve that turkey and start wrapping up presents, we have a wonderful month or so where the weather is just perfect for dog activities, indoor and outdoor, October and early November. So let's start with some safety and grooming tips for the fall.
I will preface this by saying I'm probably not the best grooming tip person because I always have short-haired breeds.
Sure.
Don't worry, Google can help you on that. But general safety, obviously in the fall it's getting darker earlier, just less light in general, should I say. You should be mindful of that when you're going outside with your dogs, outside of your yard especially. So you can use things such as like reflective collars or harnesses, or light up collars, harnesses, or tags.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
So cute. They're like
They are cute.
little
Little
necklaces.
safety
Like a
vests.
bike light, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People can see you. Cars can see you. It's much safer. It's the same concept of if you're a runner or taking a walk at night, you should wear light or bright
Reflective.
colors and
Yeah.
reflective things.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing, and to be honest, I thought of this more as a winter thing, but I maybe looked into this a little, and apparently people do this in fall, and I'm a last minute person. But people are often adding antifreeze to their vehicles this time of year, and that is unfortunately extremely toxic. It's one of the most common forms of poisoning in pets.
Wow.
And they like it because it's like sweet tasting.
exactly.
I
So
heard
they're
that
like,
it tastes really sweet.
Gobble it all up.
yeah.
Ice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So something to be mindful of. And definitely if you're using yours at home, make sure it's put up and away and closed.
Sure.
Another thing is rodents begin to seek refuge in cooler temps.
Mhm.
So rodenticides are used more frequently in the fall. So when you're walking your dogs, be vigilant you should always be vigilant when you're walking your dogs, but especially keeping an eye out for like pellets or bait stations. Probably lots of other things they can get into in yours.
Yep.
Yeah.
And leaf piles. I'm sure we've all seen like cute videos
Oh,
of
yeah.
dogs diving into leaf piles just like kids, but it's the same concept. There can be sharp branches or heck, there can even be broken glass or something like that. Thorny plants or like prickly seed pods. There can also be insects and like small animals inside of it. So just
Oh my gosh, I
something to be
didn't even think
mindful of.
about a leaf pile.
Exactly.
I love Cosmo and leaves.
Just your own leaves that you rake.
I always say
Yeah.
be mindful.
So
of
you can do it in your
just
own
did it.
leaves? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't
You've
let
done
it just
right.
sit there for a month and then let them go and do
Gotta
it.
audit that leaf pile.
Yeah.
First, you know.
Exactly.
Shake it up, stir it around, flip it over like a pancake. Wow.
Mushrooms also tend to emerge in fall just because of the
Moisture.
Moisture and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are harmless. Actually, some are really beneficial. Not that you want them eating it in a yard
right.
anyway, but there are some that are toxic. So it is something to be mindful of. And acorns, although they are not toxic, they can cause like intestinal blockages.
Oh,
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. We got a lot of pine trees in our backyard. So
Yeah.
that's.
You're like, now I am paranoid about my yard.
Yeah.
Yes, we can't go outside.
He's gotten a little better about chomping wood, but
Yeah.
he still has the fancy every now and then.
And with grooming, though, I will say that they do tend to shed more heavily just because they're getting rid of their summer coat and transitioning to their winter coat.
Mhm.
Again, short-haired breeds in my world, not something I deal with, but obviously frequent brushing can help with that. You can use like de-shedding shampoos as well as moisturizing shampoos and conditioners, because people have their heat on and they get dry skin too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I have a question about that. So my dog gets the Grinch feet, and I think it's cute, but I've also read that it's like harmful for between their paws.
Is it?
Well, I think it just like I don't know,
It
maybe
can build up like bacteria and stuff
That's
like
why I
that.
wonder if it, like,
Oh.
So
Yeah.
dry that it like cuts open
Yeah.
and then you get bacteria
Yeah.
in it.
Yep.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think the Grinch feet are adorable.
I do too. And he looks like the little Grinch dog. So I
Yeah.
like want to see how it goes, but I've seen too much where it's like potentially harmful for them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There's,
Okay. So
I
I
mean,
won't do that.
even like rinsing your dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do this any time of year. People
Mhm.
think of it in winter because of like the antifreeze and the
Uh-huh.
salt and stuff like
De-icer
that.
and all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
But also to get mud off. But there's like these mud buster little things that you can like dip their paws in that have these silicone
Oh, yeah.
little
I've
prongs
seen
basically,
those.
and it
Yeah.
works wonders to get a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a bath, but
Right.
Right.
We do lots of foot soaks because of allergies, like iodine or
Oh.
Epsom salt.
Oh.
Does it work for humans too?
Give it a try.
it's just spa day. For
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Everybody gets to put their feet
Yeah.
in the big Epsom salt
Soak your
bath.
paws.
That's funny. Okay, so we talked about having the reflective stuff around when it's dark out. Is there anything about being early when it's chillier or anything like that? Same sort of stuff.
Just be mindful. Know your dog
Mhm. Yeah.
specifically. If you have a dog with a long coat or a double coat, like no, it does
Uh-huh.
not matter that it's cold. Like it's not getting
Uh-huh.
too cold in fall for them. That's perfect. But you can use like sweaters on your dogs if you have a short-haired breed, or if you have like a tiny little Chihuahua that gets cold
Mhm.
easily or something like that. Sweaters or dog coats. And in reality, you could roll out the boots if you wanted to, but most of the time those are saved for winter
Yeah.
or summertime.
For
It's
sure.
just entertainment.
Yes.
They are so cute when they're just like trying to get their grip around
Forgot
those
how to
boots.
walk.
Okay, so what are some other outdoor activities we can kind of encourage with our dogs during fall?
I mean, there's always going to be hiking, obviously. Like, I feel like that's number one in the fall
Mhm.
beyond just basic walks.
Mhm.
But again, all those things to be mindful of on a hike. I feel like it's just even more increased with the leaves and the acorns and stuff like that. Really, anything outdoors is great for fall. It's great weather for humans and pets.
Mhm.
So,
Not so much of the sun beating down
Not
on them.
overheating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
especially for your
Little
short-nosed breeds.
Smushy face dogs. Yes. Yes.
One question that I'm curious about here is, can you bring your dog to the pumpkin patch? Do you know?
So it depends on the pumpkin patch. Most of them say no, but there are often like pet days that they
Oh,
do.
yeah.
I know Skinny Bones here in Omaha. Well, I guess it's not in
In
Omaha.
Blair,
Blair,
technically.
Blair.
Yeah.
But they had a pet day where they had like costumes and everything. That
Aw.
has already passed. But
Oh.
I do not believe like you can take it to Vallas and stuff. But a lot of like smaller ones, they tend to be more okay with it. It's when they have all these events and rides, which I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
competing with Vallas. So all of
Uh-huh.
them have 1,000 things nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine the liability with kids too is
Yeah,
probably
Yeah.
pretty
for
big.
sure.
Okay. And then speaking of like fall activity, I know you were mentioning earlier about costumes. Hilary was showing us some pictures of her foster pups and their costumes.
Mhm.
There's actually a lot of different events that you can. I mean, obviously, you can just dress up your pet for yourself in pictures, and you can take them around or to different things. But there are like a lot of costume contests for
Mhm.
pets. There are specifically there's something called Growloween here locally
gosh,
at
fun.
Wolf and Whiskers, the rescue. I volunteer with
Mhm.
Bullies and Beyond will actually be there, and multiple other breeds are there. And a lot of thing that's really great is a lot of the proceeds will benefit the rescues.
Nice.
But there's also, I know, like I'm just naming all these Omaha spots, but the green
Mhm.
spot up the street from
Mhm.
NFM has Trunk or Treat. There's Barks and Booze at Omaha Dog Bar.
Cute.
So there's almost every single one of these involves a costume contest. But there are lots of like safety tips that come into play with costumes.
Yeah, let's hear them.
everything is safety. I feel like
Yeah.
Crystal would love me.
Right.
So obviously make sure your dog's comfortable. The costume needs to fit properly. You need to watch for signs of stress. Make sure it's not impairing their vision, their sense of hearing, their breathing, their mouth or movement in general. Avoid masks if you can.
Yeah.
Those tend to not go amazingly well.
Mhm.
You'll see pictures, but somebody did
Know
like
that
a
from
photo
being a
shoot and then they
human.
took it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to have like dangly pieces or parts that can be easily chewed on and swallowed. Also make sure it's made of like non-toxic materials. So a lot of people do like color their pet's hair, not like a dye, but there's like a
Yeah, like
temporary-
spray.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
sprays and stuff.
make sure you are using a pet safe one. There are specific products made for pets. They could be licking themselves if you just do that normal spray that like
Yeah.
people spray in their hair,
Yeah.
and that could be bad. I don't even know all the ingredients in it, but I'm sure there's some toxic ones.
Right.
Sure.
It's not edible.
Sure.
Yeah. And then besides that, I think just in general, get them used to wearing it
Yeah.
before you're
So they're
going to
not
have them
pissed.
wear it.
Mhm.
Because I mean, some dogs are just used to getting dressed up all the time and it's no big
Mhm.
deal, but a significant
wish.
amount are not.
Yeah.
So just definitely give them some time in it and always supervise them in it, because it's not just like a sweater.
Mhm.
There's often weird, crazy pieces to it, and
Uh-huh.
God knows what they can get into.
Right.
Sure. Sure. Well, I love all that. That's very informative. I feel like I haven't tried to put my dog in any sort of costume yet,
No.
but Hilary, you were showing us some pictures you have.
Yeah. Something that's like that works best is not too like over the top. Like there was one that was like a shark, and I so badly wanted to put her in the shark one that was like puffy and big, and it had like
Yeah.
a long snout, but I was like, that won't last
Yeah.
very long at all. But the one she had on actually doubles as like a harness, which was really nice.
Oh,
So it,
that
like
is
clipped
nice.
around her chest and then clipped under her belly, and then had like a harness
Oh, that's
hook.
nice.
And so it didn't really bother her
Oh, good.
much at all. And then our pug, I always put him like little sweaters and stuff. He's got this like skull and crossbones sweater, but he sheds so bad like one wear, and it's
Yeah.
just I always want to
Everywhere.
put him in black, but that doesn't really work with a cream colored.
I've seen the one
cream-colored
where they
dog,
like
but-
cut the holes in
The
like,
ghosts.
Yes, or like a sock, and they make it look like a little burglar mask
Uh-huh.
Oh
for
my
their
gosh.
like a long nosed
Yes.
dog, and I think that is so funny. But I know Cosmo would hate me if I tried to
Yeah,
do that
I've
to his
always
face.
just done like this simple
Uh-huh.
attachment, like, oh, my dog has bat wings. Or I did
Yeah.
like an Acme
Yeah.
rocket
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like strapped on with Velcro, and then it
Uh-huh.
comes off real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I feel like the easier, the safer, the better for
Yeah.
your pup if you want a good experience with costumes.
There's a lady in Omaha that shows up to a lot of different events, and
It's the
she's
pug
got
lady?
yes, and she has like a what are they called? Like the big
Like
power wheels,
Power Wheels, yes.
Oh.
vehicles. And so she has like a little Power Wheels Jeep that she also like decks out to fit the costume. Like we
And
were
the
at a
dog
rescue
And
rides
then,
in
event.
yeah, I was gonna say, and then the dog
Yeah,
rides in
yeah,
it.
and
Who's
it's like-
driving it?
She is. She's got like
Oh,
a
like a remote control.
Yeah,
Wow.
the
Okay.
dog was like Abraham Lincoln, and
Oh.
then like it was like the
Yeah.
security vehicle or
That's
something.
hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know if it was that dog or another pug person
Uh-huh.
that came, but there was a rescue event over the weekend at Harley Davidson that they had a contest, a
Yes.
costume contest, and they had like Liberty tours, and they had this whole giant thing that they
Uh-huh.
were rolling around, and he was dressed up like Lady
Yes.
Liberty. It was hilarious.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
we were at
people
that
are
one
so
last year,
creative.
and I think that was the same.
Yeah, I
same
love how
person.
creative people get.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that. She's like a celebrity here in Omaha amongst the dog
Have to get her
people.
to come to the parking lot sometime
Yeah.
or something like that.
Meet and greet.
Speaking of creativity, I'd love to hear some fall themed like enrichment items. I know we talk a lot about enrichment, so maybe there's a fall twist we can add.
I do talk about enrichment a lot, and to be honest, I'm sure there are lots of like fall themed enrichment things you can buy, but I feel like pumpkin is always fall, and
Mhm.
I am always using pumpkin in my enrichment items because it helps their tummies.
Sure. Sure.
But I don't specifically do any fall theme ones
Mhm.
myself.
So you can use like just the can of pumpkin stuff you
Yes.
get, and
Not
that.
pumpkin pie filling.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Just
good to
actual
know.
pure
pumpkin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference.
Those are like
Yes.
With some sort of sugar
Yeah.
additive that's really
Mhm.
bad for them.
Exactly.
Poor
Yeah.
guys. Why did they always have to get
I know.
the
Yeah.
messy end of the stick?
Bruce goes nuts for apples too. Loves apples. Like he hears like the core thing and just comes
Oh.
bolting.
Yep. Apples are good for them. I know
Mhm.
they say like the skin is harder for them to
Yeah.
digest. So I just avoid that as a whole.
Mhm.
But yes, those,
I started doing little frozen banana bites.
yep. Banana.
For-
There's so many good
Yeah.
like human
Food
foods,
things
Mhm.
that you can
vegetables and fruits that are good for them.
Mhm.
That like legit, I will just always give
Feed
them
them.
some of mine.
Yeah.
Well
We buy
balanced out.
bags of carrots instead of dog treats.
Do. Yeah.
Smart.
It's probably cheaper too.
Especially
Oh,
when you
yeah.
have to control
Nuts.
calorie intake.
Yeah.
I mean, to
Yeah.
reduce their weight.
Yes. Yeah.
Cosmo's triggered by the egg cracking noise
Oh.
because we cook scrambled eggs all the time, and he
Uh-huh.
usually gets like the scraps.
Uh-huh.
He's very spoiled.
Mine are very string cheese. So
Oh,
opening
the
that
wrapper
is
of
like
that.
immediately
Uh-huh.
come running.
Yeah.
Really, if the pantry door opens,
Yeah.
they come
Uh-huh.
running because they're spoiled.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's how they're supposed to be.
Pantry tax.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious a little bit myself. My dog has a little bit longer furred hair. How is the setup and the kennel like supposed to be when it comes to this colder temperature? Are you supposed to add some blankets to the kennel and stuff like that, or what's kind of the preferred?
It really depends on your dog, and it depends on like your house temperature. I keep it excessively cold and have short-haired dogs, so they always have like a blanket or bed. But if you keep your house warmer, if it's consistently like 72 degrees or something like that, that's which I sound like
sounds
that's
terrible.
crazy just because I'm at
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
64.
want that
Yeah.
in my house.
Yeah.
But
Roasting.
too hot.
you don't need to put anything in.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Some dogs like it though. It's really just dependent on your dog. A lot of times it's because it's like that plastic bottom. A lot of the
Mhm.
time, do they like that?
Mhm.
Does it bother them? So I don't really think that season plays too much into that since we have climate controlled homes.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I feel like I'm always trying to swaddle him up, but he overheats very fast. Very fast. Not into the swaddling
Just
method.
burrito roll him up and then put him in his crate.
Okay, as we wrap things up today, Mandy, we wanted to give you some time to talk about pit bull awareness, as this is Pit Bull Awareness Month, and we know you've got those bully breeds at home. So, what can we know?
Yes. So I mentioned it earlier, but I volunteer also with a rescue that is an all breed rescue, but we focus on advocating for bully breeds. And I will say that since it is Pit Bull Awareness Month, and I feel like I mentioned this on my first podcast on here, but Pit Bull is not an actual breed. People think it is. It's actually just an umbrella term for dogs with like blocky heads and muscular bodies. There are technically multiple breeds that fall under that Pit Bull umbrella, including, this is the closest name to Pit Bull, American Pit Bull Terrier, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, American Bulldog, Bull Terrier, like the Spuds McKenzie or Target dog,
Mhm.
Cane Corso, Bull Mastiffs, Dogo Argentinos, an American Bully. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Technically, some people say boxers are considered it and stuff like that, and French Bulldogs even, which I don't know. You don't necessarily
Yeah.
They're
associate
their
that with
own
Pit Bull,
little-
but they fall
Yeah.
under that umbrella
Mhm.
technically.
Mhm.
And Pit Bull type dogs tend to be some of the most abused breeds in the world, and they also are the highest risk for euthanasia in shelters. There is something called breed-specific legislation. It exists in Omaha, unfortunately. So there are, in other areas, there are different types of breed-specific legislation, which we'll just call BSL. There are bans on breeds, which is not what we have here, or there are restrictions on breeds. Here, you have to have the $100,000 liability insurance. You have to muzzle them in public. Nobody under the age of 19 can walk them in public.
Wow.
And there's different policies everywhere. And the weird thing about that is Pit Bull type dogs tend to be in it, but they have to specify breeds. And in some cities and areas, that'll include Huskies. That'll include, I'm trying to think, I want to say I've seen Boston Terriers on a list before. It really just depends what the city or area chose to do. And it is purely based on determining breed by physical characteristics, which has been proven time and time again an unreliable way to determine breed. I know, the DNA tests for dogs are really common nowadays, and you often get surprising results. And part of that is because even if you are trained on it, you can't always determine the breed by physical characteristics. I use my friend, actually, she works at the Green Spot up the street. She has like a fluffy pit bull, which you would not think would be fluffy. And she did a DNA test, and he is 91% American Pit Bull Terrier. And he's also American Bulldog and Staffordshire Terrier.
Wow.
So he's like predominant bully breed. When you look at him, you wouldn't think that. And also there's the whole concept of breed specific legislation is kind of pointless. It has never been proven to reduce the number of bites or anything like that, which is why it was made in the first place. I'm just not a fan of it. They're constantly overturning it in cities across the country. So hopefully we'll be on the list soon. There's a lot of common myths too about pit bulls. They don't have locking jaws. Their anatomy is the same as most dogs. They're not inherently aggressive. Basically, the breed doesn't determine a dog's aggression. Dogs in general are individuals, just like humans. And oddly enough, the American Pit Bull Terrier ranked 4th out of 122 breeds, for temperament via the American Temperament Testing Society. They actually rated higher than the Golden Retriever.
Wow. That's so interesting. All that is.
They're super resilient. There's so many different stories of like dogs that came from fighting backgrounds that have now become therapy dogs.
Wow.
So they can bounce back very easily. They're really versatile. They're currently used as military dogs, police canines, service dogs, therapy dogs, sporting dogs. And actually the ASPCA Dog of the Year that was just announced not that long ago, it was Cole, the deaf pit bull. He's actually a therapy dog that goes around to schools. He goes to veterans homes and stuff like that. So he's not only an ambassador for bully breeds and rescue, he was a rescue as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that part. And he helps raise awareness about disabilities. So they're
all very enlightening.
Yeah.
Lots of fun things. I'm a big
more
big
good than
fan.
bad when it comes to bully breeds, it sounds like.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing about all things fall with puppies and doggos. I want to thank Becca and Hilary and, of course, Mandy and Scott over there on the sound and video. And thanks to everyone who's listening. Remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the I Am Home podcast wherever you listen. And for more about us, head over to nfm.com where you can shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. Till then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.